There's actually 3 seasons of this now. I have only seen 2 because I watch it on Shudder, and it is Eli Roth's history of horror. He covers a lot of stuff that we might not like, but I don't have a problem with that because he's giving full spectrum of horror. So yeah, he's going to include a Rob Zombie movie in there or something, because at one point it was on the blip of pop culture radar. I really like how he breaks the series down. Episode titles. Season 1 was Zombies, Slashers, Part 1 and 2, Demons, Killer Creatures, Vampires. But season 2, he started getting a little more specific. One was called Houses of Hell. One's called Monsters. One's called Body Horror. You'll love that one. Witches and Chilling Children. And then one's just 9 Nightmares. And these are 9 movies that really defy categorization, which I found fascinating.
Huh. Okay.
So I like the way he is breaking these things down. Not necessarily, I mean, he could easily do a season of just directors, you know, George Romero, John Carpenter, what have you, Rob Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
I think I texted you a few times while I was watching this a few weeks back. And I really like the interviews he does. I like the topics he does. I especially like the selections he picks, and it's probably because it's very similar to us. Like, I was watching this second season and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, all these movies are movies we've covered this season or last season. He talked about The Brood and, you know, other things that we have covered. And I mean, I guess there's obviously going to be some crossover because we're halfway into that world, since the other half of our podcast is science fiction. But anyway, I just I like it. And he's got tons of interviews with people. Some he reuses from recordings he may have done first season. But I mean, there's people on there like Stephen King and David Cronenberg, your friend Greg Nicotero, those guys also commenting on movies that influence them as well.
So is he basically like, I'm the host, like a Rod Serling documentary kind of thing, and he's just talking through it and showing clips?
The first season, I seem to remember him being more present with like a guest in scenes, but now he's more narrating, and it's better. So like, you definitely recognize his voice in, I don't know, the opening, and every once in a while he'll say, and then David Cronenberg's The Brood, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So, but no, you're not seeing him as much. But like, he will bring up his movies, which I don't blame him. I mean, you know, he wants to promote them. So far, the only 2 I recall of his that I've seen were Green Inferno, and that's because he was talking about Cannibal Holocaust and how it inspired him. And then in Body Horror, he talks about Cabin Fever. Again, a lot of success today is equated with stuff in pop culture. You know, the Housewives of whatever hell that Andy Cohen has produced on Bravo is numero uno amongst pop culture, and yet we know it's shit and would bore the hell out of us. So I kind of see him fitting in that way, maybe. I don't know. I do appreciate his knowledge. And you know what? It's probably not his knowledge. He could be the guy producing and writing it, and he's just the face. Because the guy that's producing this, and I did look his name up. I forgot to put it in my notes. He knows his shit, and he's hitting things that we bring up that people have long forgotten. For instance, Cannibal Holocaust. Nobody thinks about that movie anymore, and why it is a mark on the timeline of horror history. And that's what the show's called, History of Horror. So anyway, I enjoy it. I highly recommend it. There's like in October on AMC, and then eventually gets over to Shudder.
You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.